Hello and welcome to The Lucky Roll, an eclectic channel for eclectic games, and today we're going to be unboxing the first expansion for Dune the board game, which is the Ixians and Tleilaxu house expansions. Now Dune the board game is a strategy game for 2 to 6 players and is quite frankly fantastic. If you haven't heard of it or haven't gotten it yet, I urge you to please check it out. It is a superb game. And what this expansion does is it brings 2 new factions to the game. Now the Tleilaxu are an interesting faction. In the core game, they were in charge of the clone tanks. That when you were bringing soldiers back for your army, they were the guys in charge of the tanks that brought them back. In this expansion, they are now their own faction. There's also the Ixian, who are the masters of manufacturing and technologies, and I think they also have access to the Treachery decks, or a kind of can preempt what's being dealt out, so it's not just the Atreides that have that knowledge for future games. And of course, these 2 factions are mortal enemies, so it should lead to some new interesting kind of tensions and strategies for the players, including a bit of history. So, opening this expansion for the very first time, we are greeted with... One thing I love about Gale Force 9 is the size of their expansions. They had a similar shaped box for Firefly, and it's just for the ships, and it's just, I don't know why, it's just the aesthetic of it I like. So opening it for the very first time, we are greeted with new Treachery cards, always a good sign. We are greeted with a new rules and expansion set, so giving some components, tech tokens, new advanced rules, and a bit of blurb on the new factions and some questions and answers. So there's 11 pages to the new expansion, and of course a nice little synopsis sheet here at the end. So we got a basic game and an advanced game about karma. So there's a new mechanic here at the very least. Let's see if we can just have a quick glance at it here. There doesn't seem to be a subtitle of it. So nothing in terms of karma. Oh yes, special karma power. So for a new special karma power, for the Tleilaxu, you may prevent a player from performing a revival, forces and or leader. And for the Ixians, you may move hidden mobile stronghold 2 territories on your turn during shipment and movement, as well as make your normal movement. Now the mobile territory is an interesting one. The Ixians don't have a spice income from what I understand, so the mobile stronghold that they have is how they harvest spice. So basically any spice that's left on the field, they hoover up with this thing. We have, of course, new tokens, 1 for each. So yes, you can see the armies here. You also have little star icons here for troops. For the Tleilaxu, you don't have star icons, but because I think they make their troops again for free, they're a bit more cannon fodder, and I don't think there's a revival limit on them either. So we'll put this aside. We also have 2 new player cards. So we'll have a look at the Ixian. So at the start you have 6 forces, 3 cyborgs and 3 suboids in the hidden mobile stronghold, and remaining forces are in reserves off planet. You have a free revival, so 1 force, either a suboid or a cyborg. And you have advantages continued, the hidden mobile stronghold, which is, I presume, this thing, or no, sorry, probably this thing, which is something that goes along and hoovers up spice. And technology, once during the bidding round, before bidding begins on a card and before Atreides gets to look at the card, you may take the Treachery card about to be bid on, replacing it with 1 from your hand. Now that's a very interesting thing. You can use it to see what way the Atreides player is playing. Also kind of a way of making an alliance with them, that if you're complicit in the deceit. Also kind of doing a bit of sleight of hand, very interesting. And suboids, which seems to be their stronger troops, suboids are always considered half strength for dialing. You can't increase the effectiveness in suboids in battle by spending spice. Okay, that's interesting. Oh yes, of course the cyborgs are the fellas with the stars, so they're the stronger troops, and the suboid are the regular old troops. So that's the Ixian. And the Tleilaxu, you start with 20 forces in reserve off planet, start with 5 spice, and you have a free revival of 2 forces. You also have no revival limits, and you make payments to the Spice Bank at half price, rounded up. There's also an advanced game advantage called Goalless, and when you have fewer than 5 leaders alive, you may revive dead leaders of other factions at your discounted rate, and then add them to your leader pool up to a limit of 5 total active leaders for your faction. Now that is interesting. So if you have a couple of traitors, you could avoid using them with that. We also have, of course, the 2 new player shields. So we have the Tleilaxu and the Ixian. And one thing I'm curious actually is, does this boost the game up to 8 players, or is it still 6 players? I've had a very quick glance, and I don't think it adds 2 extra players. That is just 2 new factions for the game. However, if I am wrong, please do feel free to let me know in the comments. And finally, we'll have a quick look here at the new Treachery cards. So there should be some interesting little goodies in here. So we have a handful of Treachery cards. We have new Traitor cards. We have new prediction cards, of course, for the Bene Gesserit. We have a new Spice card and new Alliance cards, of course, to bring in the 2 new factions. So the 2 new Alliance cards, of course, are the Ixian and Tleilaxu. We have a new Spice card, which is Sand Trout. So cancel all current alliances. Set this card aside and draw a replacement card. The next time a Shai Hood card is drawn, either turn or subsequent turn, it is discarded without effect, and a new Spice card is drawn, doubling any Spice blow. Now that's a very interesting way to shake up the game by breaking alliances. I quite like that. We have the 2 Bene Gesserit cards for the characters, and we have a load of Traitor cards here. So we have, of course, if you're a big fan of the Dune series, you might recognize some of these characters. We also have a cheap hero traitor, which is an interesting one. So instead of a named traitor, you also have a cheap hero, which is generally a kind of a throwaway character for battles you don't want. So that's an interesting kind of one to add. We also have brand new Treachery cards, which, as you can see here, so the first one is an artillery strike. Play as part of your battle plan. Kills both leaders. No spice is paid for them. Both players may use shields to protect their leader against the artillery strike. Surviving shielded leaders do not count towards the battle total. The side that dialed higher wins the battle. Now that's an interesting kind of neutralizing effect. The Poison Tooth. Play as part of your battle plan. Kills both leaders and is not stopped by a snooper. After seeing the battle results, you may choose not to use this weapon. Now that's an interesting one as well. Something to chew on. Weirding Way. Play as part of your battle plan. Counts as a projectile weapon. Unless played with another weapon, in that case, it counts as a projectile defense. You may keep this card if you win this battle. Interesting. You have Chemistry, which is defense. Play as part of your battle plan. Counts as a poison defense. Unless played with another defense, in that case, it counts as a poison weapon. You may keep this card if you win the battle. The Poison Blade. Play as part of your battle plan. This weapon counts as both projectile and poison. We have Shield Snooper. Play as part of your battle plan. Counts as both a shield projectile and snooper. Hunter Seeker. Play as part of your battle plan. Your opponent's leader before battle is resolved. Opponent may protect leader with a shield. Oh, that's an interesting one. So you kill the leader before the battle actually takes effect. That's interesting. Play as part of your battle plan. Kills opponent's leader before battle is resolved. Opponent may protect leader with a snooper. So that's a Bacilla weapon. A Cool Wahad, a worthless card, of course. Yes, wouldn't be Dune without worthless cards. The Harvester. Play just after a spice blow comes up. Doubles the spice blow. Place double the amount of spice in the territory. Now that's an interesting one. A nice bit of use for the old harvesters. The Thumper. Play at the beginning of a spice blow phase. Instead of revealing the next spice blow card, causes a sandworm to appear. Now that's very interesting, especially if you're going to be playing the Fremen. Amal. At the beginning of any phase, cause the players to discard half their spice behind their shields, rounded up to the spice bank. Now that's interesting. That's a way of impoverishing perhaps the Emperor and the Spacer Guild. The shield, play as part of your battle plan, protects your leader from a projectile, of course. And of course we have the final one is the Snooper. So we have new interesting cards brought in there as well. 2 new interesting factions and a couple of new interesting little mechanics and designed to kind of, change your game up a little bit and perhaps kind of create some new stories for your own personal Dune universe. Now, this is a nice, very easy little expansion available from Gale Force 9, and hopefully we'll have a review of it in time to come, depending on how the current world crisis is, of course. It's very hard to get a 6-player game going these days. But until then, this is Sean from The Lucky Roll. If you enjoyed this unboxing, please like, subscribe, all that good YouTube stuff. And until next time, good luck, God bless, and stay safe.